Good afternoon, everybody. Drew Griffin here with Delicious Marketing, and on behalf of Pottstown Local and the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, I am extremely privileged, proud, and thrilled to be hanging out once again with the host of Chamber Chat, as well as a very, very special guest. Before we jump into everything, Bill Vitiello, the institutional manager over at the Victory Bank, who is also the host of Chamber Chat Live, is hanging out with us today. We've got a special guest who we're going to get to in just a moment. I want to pass the reins over to Bill. Bill, how are you doing today?
Drew, I'm doing great. Thanks again for doing everything behind the scenes. Can't thank you enough for our partnership, and looking forward to more of these. They've been going good so far.
Hey, let's not waste any more time. Let's give all credence and credit and due time to our special guest here today. I'm going to pass the reins over to you, and I'll pop in back at the end of the show to hang out, and we'll talk real soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew. Thanks once again for running everything behind the scenes. Thank you to Eileen from the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. She's running the board back at the Facebook's Bunker Studios, whatever you want to call them. And we also want to thank the Ben Exchange, your friends for business benefits. So my guest today is Stacey Woodland. Stacey is the Chief Executive Officer from the YWCA Tri-County. Welcome to Chamber Chat Live. How you doing?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing well, and we're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here, and the YW is happy that I'm here too.
That's awesome. And I was doing a little bit of research on the YWCA, and I could never do it justice. So if you wouldn't mind describing what the YWCA is for the audience, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So YWCA is dedicated to eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. We have been, YWCA Tri-County area has been in Pottstown since 1908. And at our core programs are early education, adult education. We do youth empowerment, and which is primarily focused on girls. And then we also have workforce development programs. We do summer day camp for kids. We administer the foster grandparent program for all of Montgomery County. We have an AmeriCorps Vista program, Volunteers in Service to America. We do a lot. And I think the thing that I love the most is that primarily we're focused on education. Every one of those core programs has a strong educational focus.
No, that's great. And did you say 1908?
1908.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is.
Of course.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And YWCA is a national, we're a national association, or part of a national association. There are 212 YWs across the country and 18 in Pennsylvania. That's
great. Well, we're thankful to have one right in our community. And how long have you been the CEO for this particular location?
So I've been there since 2014, August of 2014.
Okay.
So almost 6 years.
Yeah, that's great. And I know you have a vast staff, and you also have board of directors. Can you tell us a little bit about what it takes to run the organization?
So absolutely. We have a staff of almost 75 people. So a lot of early education teachers, a lot of adult education instructors. We have case managers. We have camp counselors. Of course, we have development and finance people. We have a mission impact officer and an advocacy manager. We have youth empowerment program staff. You name it, any one of those programs has a number of staff that support all of the effort that it takes to run the initiative and have the initiative have the impact on the community that we want. Everything that we do has to do one of those things that I described in the mission: eliminate racism, empower women, or promote peace, justice, freedom, or dignity for all. So
I was going to say, and those are all very powerful statements. And I know that we want to talk about this a little bit today. So I'll let you take the conversation wherever you feel necessary. If you let's start with the first one, the ending racism. Right. We all know what's been happening in our communities right now, and just seeing all the images and all the social media posts, specifically from Pottstown, I'm talking about. It seems like a very supportive and very loving community, and want to move this forward together. So give me your thoughts on that, please.
So Sunday we had the privilege, the YW had the privilege of being part of the peaceful protest that took place, started at Borough Hall in Pottstown on High Street. There were thousands of protesters there. It was really I think a beautiful day of all kinds of people. And when I say all kinds, I don't just mean all races. I mean, there were really elderly people who needed walkers and wheelchairs. There were, young children there who were in a stroller, who were carrying signs. And I think just the support for what it's going to take to dismantle systemic racism was evident, and it was palpable. And I think that, we're going to finally be able to start to crack this nut. I think as an organization dedicated to the elimination of racism, I said this when I spoke on Sunday, I'm not sure why YWCA Tri-County area has been as visible as it needs to be. And that's done. We are forever changed by the vision and the image of George Floyd breathing his last breath. And we are committed to doing everything that we can to be a part of the elimination of racism. And, I think friends call friends out, right? And so we have a lot of friends in the community. We are friends with all of the legislators, the police department, everybody. But as things get revealed as maybe need to be changed, you can count that on the fact that we're going to call it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do feel to your point earlier, we are closer than ever to ending it. And I think that's a great thing. It doesn't belong in our society. It doesn't belong in our community. So I agree with you. I think we're closer than ever. So obviously, look, this is just one. We're right at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are the YMCA's thoughts on YW's thoughts on next steps? Like where do we go from here? I think because we've seen action like this from the community before, but I think again now is more powerful than ever, and this is going to be the change that's going to happen. What are the next steps, and what do you feel like the group is going to do there, and how they're going to be involved?
So I think a huge next step, for which one that the YW Tri-County area is uniquely positioned for, is education, right? So we do education all the time. And so we are able to offer issue education about racial justice. We offer an implicit bias training that we've done in the Pottstown School District for every high school teacher, every high school administrator. And I think that we're invested and committed to anybody who's interested in having this kind of education or having us come and help lead a discussion in your organization. We are able and ready to do that.
So you'll actually partner with organizations. So like, let's say there's a corporate office, maybe they have 100 or 200 employees. You'll actually be able to go in there and give a talk about it and open discussion, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we offer that already. It takes us a little bit of time because we really want to tailor each opportunity that we're talking to a group of people so that it can be the most interactive opportunity that we can make it. So we get a little census information. We want to know the demographics of who we're going to be talking to, and so that we can make sure that we're sharing information that's going to feel relevant and salient to that group of people. And there's a wonderful team that does it, and I'm going to pat ourselves on the back and say we do a great job at it.
Yeah, as you should. I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes into it. So we're talking, the first part I think is the community, right? And schools are certainly included in that community.
Yes.
So tell me, and it's probably a little bit tough to get a handle on because of the way that COVID affected this and the timing of everything that we're seeing in our community. But how has racism been a factor in our local schools in the past, and how do you see it again changing in the future? If you can give your best guidance there.
So I think there's a couple of things. I think the racism visible in our schools is almost invisible. So I think a wonderful example of the institutional racism that is really happening in Pottstown is the fact that the school district wasn't resourced to begin virtual learning at the same time that the surrounding community school districts were, and that they weren't starting distance learning until the very end of April and the beginning of May. And so I can just say, like, my grandkids are in a neighboring school district, and they were in touch with their teachers, having Zoom meetings with their teachers in March. Montgomery County was closed down on March 12th, and I know that it was March when they already had assignments virtually, they already had Chromebooks, the Zoom meetings were coming and scheduled, and they were, rolling out of bed, going to class. And it really wasn't until one of the things that we did to help to support the community during the closures and the quarantines, where we realized that there were some of our families that we serve through early education or any one of our other programs that weren't able to access some of the food distributions that were happening. We knew that some families needed diapers and formula and wipes. And so we just kind of started distributing some of those things. And it wasn't until we were connecting that I realized they hadn't started school, because sometimes when I was doing a distribution, I see some of the kids, and it's just like, why aren't you in class? And, and then it hadn't started yet. And I think, that there's no fault to the school district personnel. Like, they are doing the best that they can. But when you're $14 million underfunded, and then when you don't have the same resources to be able to touch families when they don't walk into the school building any longer, right? It takes the time that it takes. Like, they got the donation, they had to buy the thing, they had to figure out a distribution method. It was difficult. But I think when we think about that, and we think about those children, and we think about the fact that I think, sadly, any time when we really start talking about the Pottstown School District, the fact that they are so under-resourced always comes into everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And so those children are already behind. And so if you think about and wrap your mind around the fact that we have children now who missed 4 months of in-person school, and so everybody did. Okay, so maybe the playing field is level. But then you were unable to start virtual school until almost 2 months after everybody else did. And they stopped June 5th, right? They ended school on June 5th. And I know my grandsons, this is their last week of school. And I think in the climate like this, right, every hour counts. There was Brown and Harvard did a research study that they talked about the math learning lost of kids in poor zip codes. They lose about 50% of their math learning, but kids in affluent zip codes lose 0. And so how are we going to be able to help these children make up 4 months, 50% of their math learning, 4 months of in-person? Don't even consider the trauma of being quarantined and being away from your friends and, whatever fear and anxiety that impacted adults too. And then when you layer that over with everything that's happened with the videotaping of George Floyd's murder, I'm so sad for these children, all children, especially kids in Pottstown.
Yeah, and there's so much, fortunately and unfortunately, that is coming to light from all these situations. And I can just share with you, I'm the chairman. You and I have never met before, so we don't know each other's background. But I'm the chairman for the Montgomery County Community College Alumni Association, and we put together a fund because just as you said, there were students who are having difficulty making that transition to remote learning. There's some that don't have access to the internet, some that don't have the technological necessities that they need. Again, the laptops, the Chromebooks, the iPads, whatever that's going to bring them closer to them finishing their education. So there is a need, and these topics have risen to the top here, which is good. And I'm hoping as a community we can address them and definitely move forward here. I wanted to pick up on a point here. You're creating a call to action against systemic racism and police brutality. So again, this is a topic that's right out in front right now. Tell me how you guys are working with those messages.
So I think one of the things we really want to focus on is the police role in schools. So what is the policeman's role? How are they trained? What are they resourced to do? What expectation can we have of how they're going to interact with our students when the students are at their best, but when they're not at their best, right? And so we're just going to begin the fact finding and asking the questions and offering to be a resource so that we can be assured that we feel comfortable with what we can expect to happen in our schools. I think there's a growing movement and call to defund the police, and I think I hate that term, but I think when you dig a little deeper, really what it's asking is to reinvest money instead of increasing the budget for police departments, is to leave it at level funding from where it's been and to use the increase that you were about to put into there to add a lot of other social work, social services, drug and alcohol if necessary, any of those other resources that really support the community. I think that part is important. I think it astounds me that we have money to put police officers in schools when we don't have nurses, when we don't have social workers, when we don't have enough counselors to help guide our kids to figure out their next career path when their primary academic career is coming to a close. And so where we find the money for the police is always a question.
Yeah. So we talked about education in our schools, but what about education in our community? And I specifically am asking about those folks who don't understand what it means to be discriminated against. Where can folks go for a resource to get some information on first of all, what it's like, and then second of all, how to have that conversation? We're hearing right now that conversation is going to be the key to moving this thing forward. And how do you even begin to, start having that, and what resources would you recommend?
So I can tell you a couple of places. One, we're really making sure that our YWCA Tri-County Area website has a comprehensive place for racial justice information, and we're adding stuff to that all the time. We are beginning a series called Race, Trauma, and What's Next that is going to be a virtual opportunity to come together and see panel discussions, but also have a book study, also watch a movie and have a discussion about that, or several. I think we're planning it over. It's going to be like a 6 or 8 session series, and there's going to be more information about that on our website also. In Pottstown, I think one of the great things about it is that the community really comes together. There's the Pottstown Trauma Informed Community Connection, which is a collaborative of organizations, including YWCA in the school district and several others, Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation, where we're really focused on trauma-informed practices. And there is a lot of information there on how to manage trauma as for young people especially, and what we can do to support them. So I think, as the YW is resourced and ready to lead conversations about race relations, and what's next and what could be next, I think we also are prepared to talk about trauma as it relates to racial injustice. But I know that there are other parts of the community that need just traditional trauma-informed stuff, and that happens through PTIC. I think, I would be remiss to say we are discounting the trauma that probably came from having to quarantine so suddenly from COVID-19, and families being furloughed or losing their jobs and being food insecure or housing insecure or any of those things, or just being in an unsafe space. I mean, one of the things that happened, YW, we were lucky. was able to continue to pay all of our employees and keep everybody employed. We didn't have to furlough anybody, and we were able to move many of our in-person programs to have virtual opportunities. Certainly nothing can take the place of childcare, that you get to drop your child off and go to work, but we were still maintaining relationships and opportunities for families to join us to do some of their movement and activity and music. We did that with 3-year-olds. We were doing Zoom meetings with our preschool classrooms so they could get to see each other again. All our adult education, our high school equivalency and ESL classes adopted a distance learning model. Our youth empowerment program, they were doing Girl Circle on Facebook Live, and you name it, we used it, and we are using it to stay connected. But I want to say that even on the YW team of early education teachers, and we were, having expectation that they're completing all of their professional development requirements virtually, and that they were able to make these connections to families and manage these virtual conversations and check in with families to see how they're doing. It became clear to me that while I can level the playing field for everybody having opportunities to work from home and still collect a paycheck, I can't level the playing field of people's homes. And so if women are living in unsafe situations that are exacerbated by, reduced funds in the home and having to be all together for, not even hours on end, days on end, that I had to be mindful about that and think about that dignity for all piece, the last part of the YW's mission, and how it applies to our team, and make sure that I had enough flexibility and latitude within the requirements and our expectations that we're going to be able to continue to support, especially women, to be successful and to be safe in their homes. So, I think we just got to the yellow phase last Friday, and everybody's just kind of starting to come out. And I think the trauma experienced by each and every person is yet to be fully revealed.
Yeah, and look, this thing has affected everybody in different ways. Some it may not affect at all. Others, to your point, might be very traumatizing. I'd like to get together with you after this, maybe with Drew as well, and we'll get some of those resources together.
Okay.
And let's post it on this Facebook page. Let's make sure we get it out to the community. And like folks always say, if we can just make affect one person, we feel like we've made a difference, and hopefully that'll then affect other people as well. We just have a few moments left. I apologize, and I feel like we could probably go on for quite a while here. But what else would you like to offer from the YWCA, please?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So I think the thing that I would like to offer, but I don't have a lot of information. So I'm going to ask that people who view this go and check our website out, and maybe even if not today, look at the end of the week. We are starting that series that I talked about, Race, Trauma, and What's Next. And I know the first date of it is going to be a virtual opportunity on Wednesday, June 24th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we're putting together the panelists now, and I'm excited for that. And I think that it will help give people, sometimes I think some people don't even know what the question should be, or feel like the questions that they have might feel inappropriate or might trigger trauma in someone else. And I think that what YW wants to be is a safe place to explore all of that so that we can move the needle on institutional racism.
Yeah, it all starts with a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the work you're doing with the community. Thank your staff and the board of directors for their direction as well. It's been a pleasure to have you as a guest today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. My guest today has been Stacey Woodland. We'll bring Drew back in here in just a moment. But again, we'd like to thank him for running the board behind the scenes there. And Eileen also back at Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. And our sponsor, the Ben Exchange, your friends for business benefits. Drew, welcome back to the conversation.
I was highly engaged in just listening to this amazing conversation, and I think this is where it starts, right? We have to have the conversations, as tough as they may be. There's probably loads of emotion around everything that we've witnessed over the past couple of weeks. And, congratulations on, being a part of that movement, not only in Pottstown, but in the region and that sort of thing. And I think that's, if we have open hearts and we truly care about each other, this is where it starts. And I think at least recognizing the amazing work that you're doing at the YWCA Tri-County area is just the beginning. And I know that you guys have been doing such amazing work in the area for quite some time. Maybe it's an opportunity for all of us to get involved with your organization and, support one another and see where we can go with things. It's been an amazing opportunity to listen in and hear some of the amazing things that you've been doing. I encourage everybody, head over and check out what's going on at the YWCA tricountyarea.org website and see what they've got going on, see how you might be able to support this amazing conversation that we should all be having. It's well overdue. And on behalf of the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, we would love to invite you back and have a continued conversation as long as it really takes and requires. I think it's a good thing for not only for Pottstown, but for the entire region, the country, and the globe. So again, on behalf of Bill and Eileen over at the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, thanks so much for everybody tuning in today. It would be a great honor and a great help to us if you would spread this message. If you know somebody that needs to hear what we've talked about today, if you're a local business and you want to get the word out about what you're doing inside the Pottstown or area community, the Tri-County area community, reach out to the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. We would love to feature you and your business here on the Chamber Chat show that is syndicated through a lot of different channels in and around the Tri-County area. Until next time, please be safe out there. Look after each other, and we'll talk to you on the next episode of Chamber Chat Live. We'll talk to you guys real soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Take care.